you guys a little hymn. I've been watching the documentary Ken Burns' Civil War, and I learned that the John Brown Rebellion was instrumental in inspiring poet Julia Ward Howe to write a poem that later became the Battle Hymn of the Republic. John Edwards is here. Welcome, John Edwards. Maybe you were a member of the choir at Micah. Were you a part of the a cappella group at Micah at one point? Maybe, maybe not. Here we go. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He hath loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. The truth will find its way out. I stood up for something that I thought was unjust on Friday. I was motivated and passionate in the moment. I used some language that I regret using. I have been educated as to why some of the things I said were offensive. It was important for me to say those things in the moment and to do what I think is calling a spade a spade. Friends and coworkers for companies I have worked with and worked with closely for many a long time were disparaged by remarks by a former employee and boss, and I wanted to speak on their behalf. Some of them have reached out and said, you didn't have to speak on our behalf. Some of them said, thank you. Maybe for another conversation. John agrees that the Ken Burns documentary is an incredible documentary. Thank you, John. I'm learning a ton, and I thought I knew a lot about Civil War history, but it is great to revisit it now. It's like $40 on Amazon. Just get it. Just freaking buy it. You have it forever. Show your friends. Watch it. Put it on in the background. But I think paying attention to that is really, really good. The fight for truth is difficult, but worth it. You're going to upset some people, but not in intention. It just is the nature of language. Everyone speaks a different language, a different dialect. Words have different meanings for different people. I'm learning that. I'm learning that the hard way. Artwork, I contend, is a universal language that people interpret and bring in their own eyes, but it kind of crosses some of these verbal linguistic barriers. So it's important to keep making artwork. And when you watch the Ken Burns documentary, what are the action shots of? They're paintings of the battles. They didn't have many photos of the actual battles. There was photos of the aftermath of the battle, but taking pictures back in those days, 1860, 1861, 2, 3, 4, you had to set up this big camera. It took forever, long exposure, focus issues. It wasn't just pulling your cell phone out and taking a photo of Manassas, Battle of Bull Run. But today, you can see these battles unfolding with GoPros. It's amazing. The media, following the media over war history has been amazing. There's always been a relationship between the art world and the military world because the conquest of kings of old had to be recorded. Those stories had to be told and shared. Now, what do they say about history? It's written by the victors. Well, part of that propaganda to convince the people that the king is strong is to depict battles that king has fought. Same with the Union. Same with the French Revolution, the Battle of Waterloo, all these famous battles in history. World War II, we started to see videography. World War I, there are some amazing paintings I had the pleasure of seeing in the British Museum of War and the National Gallery in London when I was a child. Very formative in my thinking about artwork and warfare. And look, every president of the United States gets a portrait painted of him. I think portraiture came out of like vanity of the kings in the past, but it's still pretty cool. Also, oil paintings last like 400 years. That's pretty great. It's pretty great. Stone carvings might last even longer if they're not out in the rain. All right. What I'm going to do is march on. I sing the Battle Hymn of the Republic because I think I'm on the side of right. My language might have been bad. The John Brown Rebellion was smashed, but it was a catalyst. It was a catalyst. He sacrificed himself to make a point, and people saw it, and the Civil War broke out. Later, it became about slavery, but freeing the slaves. And now we're here where we are today. So I'm going to draw, do some drawing. Thank you for joining me today. If you guys have questions about what you read over the weekend, if you have things to continue to say, I believe John might have been a part of that, feel free to chime in. This is a friends-only broadcast. Hey, one of the big lessons I learned from Friday was that I got to be extra careful whether my posts are public or friends only. Because I have been doing all these live streams thinking they're public, and then when I went to go make a post that I intended for just my friends, just my audience of peers, people I wanted to let know that not all is right in the country of Denmark, and then I ended up blasting it out publicly. I put the thing out on a public group, and my enemies were able to post on my page. People I'm not friends with were posting. The people in question that I was having this beef with. It's a long beef, man. It's a beef involving hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's involving millions of dollars. It's involving my career. And in some ways, they took my master away from me, and now I'm Ronin. But we're going to get better. These conversations make us stronger as a people and as a culture and as a society, and they're tough and they're worth doing. I get that inspiration from Eric and Brett Weinstein. I've been listening to them a lot lately on YouTube. Eric Weinstein, Brett Weinstein, evolutionary biologist involved in the Evergreen protests about free speech. He was on like a receiving end where people were trying to silence him for not participating. Like a couple months ago, I see a lot of my friends, a lot of good people I knew were saying that silence is violence. I'm like, no, it's not. Silence isn't violence. Silence is I'm paying attention. I'm listening. You can't talk and hear at the same time. People are paying attention. So I thank all of you out there. And it's coming in, like it's trickling in. People have been lurking, paying attention, and they're messaging me and like, good job, dude, or I think you should change your language. And I had some women I respected who said, Tom, I think your language was poorly chosen. I'm apologizing to you now. To you women I respect, to people I respect, people who are fighting for equal rights, people who are fighting against sexism and sexual abuse in the workplace. I am with you, and I am sorry for how my words sounded to you if they were offensive to you. And I'm going to do better in the future at that. I'm going to do better in the future. I used to write on that dry erase board behind me, keep a cool head. Cool-headedness is essential, and I am not good at it. I'm a very impassioned guy. So, inspired by Ken Burns' documentary Civil War, looking at locomotives, I worked on a train game once. I want to create a new folklore hero, like a Paul Bunyan kind of like mythical character. And this started from another drawing that was on the broadcast on Friday, went out pretty well. And this is B&O Train Man, like a big steampunk hero of Baltimore. Baltimore was in an interesting spot in the Civil War because it generally had a lot of pro-slave Confederalists, but it was north of Washington, D.C., so strategically in a very complicated place. Hence, Federal Hill. Federal Hill was an artillery battery not built to defend Baltimore. That was Fort McHenry. Fort McHenry was defending Baltimore against the British, later against the Confederates, but they never sailed upriver. That pointed out towards the bay. Federal Hill pointed at the city of Baltimore to prevent an uprising, a Confederate uprising, is what I understand. Could be corrected. Let's go. We're going to draw. I think I see that Kristen is here. Ryan's here. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you for joining us. What the idea for this guy? This inspiration came out of a lot of things. I wanted to add a crazy monster character to a giant chaotic battle scene I started to draw. And this guy kind of came out of stream of consciousness. Things I've been inspired by are marching bands. I went to see a couple marching bands last year. Really inspired by the Southern Black college football. In this particular case, Jackson State University marching band. Oh, we got to load it up. We got to load it up again. We got to see the video. You guys got to know what I'm talking about here. And this time, I'm going to try to do the sing-along with it. Jackson State Marching Band drum majors. These guys and their majorettes behind them are absolutely outstanding. They just get me fired up. They get me fired up. So we're gonna get fired up for this podcast, Tomcast, singing thing. I don't know how to share audio, and plus I'm worried about audio being like legally complicated. These dudes are just awesome. If you want to get fired up before a game, this is what you got to watch. You got to watch the drum majors getting ready to bring in the band. And they're getting everybody pumped up. Look at their uniforms. They're tight. Look at their chrome. It's shiny. Look at their hats. They're fuzzy. Why they wear fuzzy hats? I don't know. I think that's like an old English thing. Something about the bear hat makes the grenadiers look taller. That's what's up. That's what's up, El, right? These guys are getting ready to throw it down. Sonic Boom of the South. Let's go. Oh, they're getting pumped. They're moving. They're dancing around. They got the drums in the background. Here comes the horns. Here comes the horns. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so look at these guys. What's the aesthetic of this? You have shoulder epaulets. This is a lot of military out. This is inspired by a martial military uniform world. And that comes from the propaganda, from kind of the brainwashing, if you will, to motivate large groups of men to work together to fight in lines against artillery and stuff. You really got to psych dudes up to go march up against artillery like they did in the Civil War. So all the martial discipline, the training, the practice, the outlandish outfits, it gets people excited. And it's a kind of physical, audio, visual, I gotta say propaganda. Like, this is positive propaganda. This is for their team. But propaganda goes both ways. Look at the majorettes doing their dance. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Go look it up. Jackson State University marching in Mississippi Valley State 2019. All right, we're pumped up. So some of that uniform stuff, it comes from a military tradition. Why did militaries have different colors? So their generals could see who was who on their battlefield before they had cell phones. They call each other up. What's up, KT? Welcome to the party. Ryan says, I'll have to find a cool video for you about a marching band. Absolutely, dude. I love them. Working with a guy over at Mohawk back in the day, Michael was in the marching bands. We had this great conversation last year about the differences of the corps. The Northern Corps versus the Southern Corps. Okay. I know you want to see what a Northern Corps is all about. So we're contrasting right now the Southern marching band with the Northern Corps. Who's the greatest Northern Corps marching band? Probably Ohio State. Ohio State. I love me some Madison, some Wisconsin Badgers. I love me some Penn State. But my favorite football team is probably Georgia. My good cousin, Aaron Murray, number 11, best of all time, greatest of all time quarterback. Georgia. Love it. But you know what? The Ohio State band is unbelievable. I mean, look at these guys coming in. That's an ad. I don't want to see an ad. The Ohio State has like a fireman's kind of look to them. It's kind of military toy soldier looking thing, but also it has like I think, look at this. This is just wild to me. So martial, disciplined, lined up. Dude, Ryan's sending me the video of the heavy metal thing. I love the heavy metal video. I love it. Norfolk State. Absolutely amazing. That's a great music video. So look at the way these guys move. So look aesthetically, what are we talking about here that's effective? You have the black canvas of the uniform. You have the white of the straps. What were those straps used for in military history? Carrying ammunition. Those used to be for holding bullets and maybe medicine, maybe pouches, maybe your food, maybe your hardtack, a canteen. Their shoes have gaiters on them. Gaiters used to be, those white gaiters used to be like earth colored or sand colored, and they would keep snakes and debris and stuff out from going up inside of your pant line, and also protect the top of your shoes. But look at this. Look how disciplined they are. They're moving their hands specifically on beat, on cue. You have a drum. So the Northern Corps is about precision and movement. Why is that important in military history? Because you need strategically, if you have 60,000 guys in a line and 60,000 guys against the other side of you, and you need to create an advantage, sometimes you need to move your entire force at once to swing or wheel around a corner and take advantage. You need people to respond immediately. How do you do that? You instill discipline in them. It's discipline. So what we see today with marching bands, why is it impressive? Because somewhere in our evolutionary medulla oblongata brain, we used to be terrified of this stuff. Look, if this many people are doing the same thing in lockstep, what does that mean? They're being controlled. They're being controlled, and they're going to mess up your universe if you are the target of their aggression. Good thing is, we're just an audience, and we can appreciate the discipline. I'm no musical genius, so I can't comment on their actual playing, but it's pretty good. And here comes their drum major. Very different flavor from the Black Southern College. So we have this guy who's just running out. He's more of just like a Where's Waldo in this group. What is he representing? The captain, the general, someone who is leading the men into battle, who is giving the orders. In the Civil War, those officers marched out in front of their line of infantry and told them where to go. They usually didn't hold a baton, they carried a sword. Why did they carry a large reflective object? To point to where we're going. I want you guys to go here. I'm going to have a big object that I can tell you dudes where to go or where to shoot. Aim your guns to the right. Shoot at those dudes over there. What's the shiny instruments? Metaphors for weapons. Bayonets on rifles. Chrome, shiny weapons. That's where this comes from. That's where this comes from, man. To finish up this thought, and we're going to get into the drawing spot, we got to bring it back to the Marines. United States Marine Corps. USMC Silent Drill Team. These guys have drilled. This is the epitome of the drill. So the USMC probably has the best uniform in the United States. They have their own band. But the silent drill team demonstrates and performs with weapons. Now, these have been demilled. I think these rifles have been plugged in their barrels, but these are the original, the military uniforms, and we see the parallel between the military uniform and the band uniform. The white belt, the white cap, the dark jacket, so that the medals on the jacket show off. You have a black canvas and a bright shiny thing. It makes the rank impressive. It makes the buttons impressive, the brass. And look at these guys. They're cut. They're disciplined. What are they doing? They are showing, Neil deGrasse Tyson made a great point about this. If you drill with your weapon, you never drop it. It's like he plays with his cell phone all the time. Where'd my cell phone go? Neil deGrasse Tyson was on Rogan. He was just flipping his phone around. He was doing something like this. And Rogan's like, stop it, stop it, stop it. You're going to break it. You're going to break it. He's like, I play with it all the time so that I never drop it. I just intuitively flip it. I catch it. I don't have to look at it anymore. Tom's fired up, ladies and gentlemen. I just got a 45-minute workout in. I'm watching some Marines do their thing. Feeling impressed. These guys are awesome. They're awesome. And it sounds cool, too. If you watch these videos, you hear the sound of the hands on the device and the little rattles of the metal parts within the firearms. And then when they slap their hands, whatever. Silent drill team. They're not receiving any orders to do stuff, but they could. In battle, a typical order from a Civil War captain would tell the soldiers what to do. Make ready, form, rank, this, left, whatever. It's pretty cool. Go to a Civil War reenactment someday and see it, and it's pretty neat. You hear the captains giving out these verbal orders to have the men do stuff. Ready, aim, fire, that kind of thing. Reload, fire by twos, fire by rank, fire by file. Has different effects downrange. This guy, so he's going to have some heroic martial kind of character about him. Some kind of heroic kind of character. So I want this marching band flavor. We got the epaulets, like the decoration. I'm thinking in this instance, this guy is wearing part of the roof of the Baltimore B&O Railroad Museum. He's going to have some train-like qualities to him. So in the original context of this drawing, there was some city skyline type stuff. I think I want to get rid of some of that. My thought for this drawing, I'm going to bring this back into the other drawing by the way too, is it's going to be like he's bursting out of the B&O Railroad Museum. So there's a roof that kind of goes flying off the top, and like he has Voltron assembled just through the spirit of justice and what is right. He is going to represent the noble abolitionists of Baltimore in 1861 to protect the city against the Confederate slave owners or something like that. Revolution. So what do we want to do here? Well, we first want to make it proportional, and then we're going to have this, like, the museum is going to get like thrown up into disarray as dude bursts out of this thing like someone coming out of a birthday, like a puppy coming out of a cupcake. Cupcake? Birthday cake. I don't know. Creature coming out of something else. Alien coming out of an egg. Something like that. So I had some ideas about what I really wanted to do with this guy. I'm raising him up. One thing I want to do is this he's picking up a train and using it as a trumpet. So it's going to be some kind of brass trumpet thing. I don't love this guy's particular face, so we're going to rejigger the guy's head. Let's go down to 30% and just kind of get rid of, erase some of this guy away. We're going to work on his proportions, his shape, probably do black and white with a little bit of chrome. I had some ideas. One thing the band has is a feather in the cap. I was thinking about, well, if he has a cap on, maybe I can do some like decorative elements that symbolize the feather but aren't a feather per se. Art Deco. Maybe we have this, so this dark canvas, which is iron, and then we have the light brass trim. So we have decorative elements that can be used within the character, taking inspiration from the reference we saw with a marching band kind of guys. So this is going to be a little bit, we're going to shade the background with just a little bit of blue because it's metallic. It's going to be reflecting the sky. I think the background's going to be some kind of blue. It'd be like a sunny blue sky kind of day back here. We're gonna have fun, ladies and gentlemen. I got coffee. I hope you have coffee today. Tell me how your day's going. How's your day, John Edwards, if you're still here? What's going on? What are you guys up to? Tell me about how you're doing. I'm thinking about that Justice heavy metal video, Ryan. Someone's got some pumping beat. I like to listen to music while listening to podcasts, but this podcast doesn't have the licenses, and it can be kind of annoying. So I'll put up some Fish in the background, I'll put up some Justice and Daft Punk, and I'll turn on Rogan, and I'll listen to live music and the show at the same time. And I find it to be a little bit more enjoyable that way. Sometimes the music happily kind of flavors or colors the conversation or adds some dramaticness. For you people who are watching who are Star Wars fans, highly recommend watching The Mandalorian and The Making of The Mandalorian. The episode about the soundtrack was surprisingly great. Just one dude came up with most of that music, and then the orchestral version on top just makes it sing even more. You have dialogue, you have characters, but that music is especially important in The Mandalorian because he's wearing a helmet the whole time, and you can't see his expressions. The music colors the emotion for the audience. Because the audience can't hear what's in his head. But ambient music isn't as alarming as narration. Narration is kind of jarring sometimes. It's not many shows or movies get away with it. Yeah, is it Community? There's some popular sitcom that's got Ron Howard doing narration. Arrested Development, maybe? I think it's Arrested Development. Ron Howard does narration for it. So I love the movie The Iron Giant as well. It's something like the Golem, the giant robot. If you watch the TV show The Loop, there are these shows that feature pathetic robots that can embody the viewer to insert their emotions into. I think it all started with Pinocchio. The idea of Pinocchio being this stringed mannequin puppet and then came alive. We feel bad for him because he's pitiful, but then he kind of gets into trouble and stuff. So, like with Iron Giant, that story is about this robot who kind of falls to Earth and is in bad shape and is all busted up, and this like kid and their family help him get back together again. And then the twist at the end is he's a war machine. He forgot he was a war machine. Pretty convenient loss of memory, but something triggers him and he goes into war mode. We're like, oh shit. I'm saying. Ryan says he's doing good. Was doing some modeling past weekend. Nice. Sci-fi. Was working on a sci-fi briefcase and a mech. Awesome. Good for you, man. Good for you. I got to do more fun 3D stuff. It just takes so long. It just takes so freaking long to do anything in 3D for me. You really got to have a good idea and focus on it. So good for you, sir. Right, so what are some things I'm thinking about? So we have I want this trumpet type thing. Got to give credit to my friend Joanne Poniatowski, who plays the trumpet and let me try her trumpet out, and it was really cool. It was cool to play with the trumpet. They're neat devices. They have these little buttons, and they got some cool parts, and they make a neat sound. If you've practiced long enough, you can play the trumpet. So we're going to have a loco trumpet, like a steam trumpet of some kind here. So we're going to, another thing that we're using the locomotive for specifically is it's got a clear sense of scale. Windows give us a sense of scale of a house. So having a couple windows, in this case on the cab of the train, will give us that sense of scale of how big this locomotive is. So we got some numbers, we got some sense of scale. We might have like a wheel back here, and this will be some kind of jury rigged, like Doc Brown from Back to the Future, modified choo-choo trumpet. Okay, so what does the trumpet also have? It has buttons on the top. Now, the trains, you have these different domes. Like the trains from the turn of the century, 1860 locomotives of that era were actually much simpler. I should probably think about those trains just had like, I probably should do an 1860 style American locomotive now I think about it. I was going to start drawing a turn of the century kind of one, but that time you had, it was the 440 locomotive. The 440 was the style of train at that time, and what 440 stands for is there was, in the front were two guide bogies, so two wheels on a side per bogie. Wait, is the bogie for four? Two axles on a bogie that clung to the track and was the guide wheels for the train to stay on the track with a cowcatcher out front, and then the four drive wheels that had the pistons on them. So we're going to draw that a little bit off the top of our head. Why not get a picture? That's what we should have, is a 440 American. Looks like the locomotive from Back to the Future. Here's an example. That's what the 440 American style train looks like, and what was popular, I think, around the time of the Civil War. You have these domes at the top that were for steam compression, but also for carrying sand, because the sand was to come down the side of the train and go onto the track to give more traction for the wheels. We have the smokestack. We have a light in the front. I'm going to keep this image just on the side so I can reference it as we're painting up parts of the locomotive here. Cool. Got some messages. Ryan's sending me stuff. Cool. Thanks, Ryan. I will check that out at the completion of this. I think Savannah might be watching. Welcome, Savannah. Always good to know that you're in the chat. So we have these, like the I wanted this picture to stay up. Drag it here, it should open up. There we go. Boom. What if I put that over here, put that up here, put that up here, something like that. Yeah, that's above my head just a little bit. Cool. Come what color to be here. Let's try that. Let's try that. Close that. Layers. This works. This works pretty good for streaming, I guess. See me. You can see the train. So we got a big old brass dome there. We got a red dome here. We got a bell thing here. And then we have the stack here. And just like a flute, air will be coming out of that bit. So maybe that's part of the musical instrument. And then we'll just add a trumpet nose in the beginning. Sonic boom of Baltimore. Okay, imagine how loud that would be. If there was a trumpet like that was as big as a train, it's like a 50-foot trumpet. That's like the horns in Lord of the Rings. So these are going to be our buttons. We're going to improvise and make these into buttons of different kinds. Even though that's a bell there, maybe it's like a button that rings a bell. That could be cool. Button that rings a bell. I like that idea. And then we have some notes. There's a guardrail. It's a brass guardrail that comes across. We got a thing here. We got a brass cylinder in the front. So the way locomotive works, you have a boiler. The big tube in the middle holds the water, and then there's a smoke box in the back in this area that has the fire in it, and that heats up the water. The water becomes steam. The steam has a lot of pressure. The pressure is pushed down. That steam is pushed down into the cylinders, and just like wheels in a car or your engine in a car, those cylinders act on a piston, and that piston drives the wheels. It's connected to and drives the wheels. It's kind of nice. Like the tight. Look at this again, like the Marshall painted aspect of that train, the white on black. Isn't that interesting? We see it again with red details and accents, just like a soldier, just painted up like the Napoleonic armies marching across Europe in 1806. Napoleon's army. What does that look like? Ryan's asking me about, do you know about the app Pure Ref? I do not. He says it's useful. Here's an example. This looks like 1810 to me. British infantry, 1810, something like that. The French had their all white with the blue sleeves, the white straps, the big fuzzy hats. So those big fuzzy hats are the Grenadiers of the French. We saw that again at Jackson State, the drum majors. That's where that comes from. All the decorations. Those hats made the troops look taller and more intimidating. This kind of warfare made sense when guns weren't very accurate. You had to line up and get really close to have a volley of fire. It actually mimicked like naval combat in a way. Naval combat and land combat, they both use guns, so they're limited by the limitations of what their firearms can do. Those big old cannons that pirate ships had, they weren't very accurate, but they got in really close with each other and just tried to pummel each other into submission. Modern naval guns can shoot 26 miles and can put a bomb the size of a Volkswagen within 100 yards of anything you're aiming at. They're super accurate. So warfare got further and further and further away until the modern era where you had aircraft that could fly 300-400 miles. So ships, learn about World War II, Battle of Coral Sea, Battle of Midway, those two fleets didn't even see each other. It was beyond horizon combat because of aircraft. So the same kind of thing happens when you go from 1810 Napoleon and the Revolutionary War with muskets that couldn't hit the broadside of a barn from 50 yards away to the rifled musket, the innovation of combat warfare in 1860, where these guns were now we're hitting to like 250 yards accurately. Like you can hit a man-sized target 250 yards away. That's a 5 times increase in accuracy. Not only that, they're more damaging. The soft point Minet bullet spiraled as it flew, stabilizing in flight, and when it impacted something, a 300 grain projectile that's half an inch in diameter, slamming into bone, would flatten and just destroy everything. It was brutal, absolutely brutal. So the amount of casualties in the Civil War were shocking. They were just absolute The tactics had not evolved, and they were using this martial military style from a long time ago. As the war goes on, you start seeing early trench warfare. You start seeing little bits of armor. You start seeing ranged and skirmishing kind of engagements. You see more guerrilla warfare. The prototype for World War I was fought in the fields of Antietam and Gettysburg and Vicksburg. And you sure as shit know that the Europeans were watching. They were sending advisors over. They wanted to see what the hell was going on because they were getting ready for their own conflict. All right, so we got the 4 buttons on top of this choo-choo man's bullhorn trumpet thing, and he has to hold them somehow. So I have to invent a hand, a giant hand here that can hold this huge thing. So maybe his thumb is coming up like this. Probably a big white, maybe a big white glove he's wearing. But that glove would probably be like mechanical parts. I have to think about this. So the thumb's on our side, and then he has to have his fingers come all the way. So the hand has to go underneath, and then all the way around back to the top. So he's got to have the tips of his fingers up here, and long fingers that come all the way around. So the thumb is probably going to be pretty high wrapped up, something like that. Maybe something like this. Maybe something like this. And the buttons will be pressing down, and we're going to have probably a lot of steam coming out the front of this thing, right? Steam and smoke. There are steam calliopes out there. I think the Ringling Brothers had one. Ryan is saying pureref.com. Pretty cool. What's this all about? Let's share it. PureRef. All reference images in one place. Get PureRef. Pretty cool. I'll check it out at some point. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for sharing. Thank you for sharing. So, I'm not going to finish this drawing now, but I want to get most of the ideas roughed in while I'm brainstorming here. So the train, we got the robot hand, we got how this thing is being controlled. He's got fingers that are coming around the top, and those will probably be white, like I said, with some kind of mechanical white. I think with the trumpet, like you're using 2 hands, but you can use 1 hand. Would it be more interesting if this thumb was underneath? Maybe it would be better like this. And then that's the thumb section. It's all like pulleys and gears and clockwork. Yeah, something like that. And it's got some kind of pivot and twist there. And then we have the wheels of the train that are in front of part of the hand. Maybe something like that. And then the bogie wheels, the cylinder here. This will be complicated to resolve when I get to that point. Silver bar, maybe piston device coming off of the cylinder. Smells like smoke. Something's burning. I must be on fire. Let's go. Let's go. Choo choo. All right, let's get into the face. We kind of brainstormed this. We're gonna need to have an arm, some kind of robotic upper arm. Robotic stuff, clockwork stuff. I think instead of a cord, usually you have a braided cord if you're a member of some kind of elite unit. Maybe we'll have some big chain type thing. Maybe this is a symbol of the chains of slavery in some way. Maybe he's breaking. Maybe he was chained down, and we're just gonna have like broken links of chain. down here to make metaphor of something. That might be kind of fun. There's like going to be lots of these like chain kind of bits that have been broken and pulled apart. That can be kind of fun. A lot of chain links that have kind of come apart. It's cool. Might be a fun thing. Just an extra piece of debris, a little bit of that story. And the explosion, what do they look for? What are the parts? They find the detonator, they find the cause of the explosion. Maybe this is something going on here. You want to have the big belt. You're gonna have a white. We gotta have a white belt on the guy. Maybe some kind of strap too. Do you like the strap? And some like big, maybe strap like sash type thing. Kind of big buckle. Buckles are fun. Text. I want to have like a full Baltimore, Ohio railroad text type thing. Ryan says, pure ref, it allows you to have your reference image on over top of whatever you are working on. Oh, okay. Does a transparency overlay kind of stuff. Cool, Ryan. And this is the train museum. Maybe there's like a weather vane at the top. Something like that. Dude is busting out. He is stepping up. So the hand, maybe he has a big claw hand over here, a little bit simpler. And we could spend time detailing up the pistons and mechanical clockwork systems. The face I want to get a little bit more, I want it to be a little bit more relatable, so I'm going to make it a little bit more human. The first idea was a cyclops with some kind of bellows. I think we need the bellows to be in the cheek, kind of skeletal, and I want to have some kind of googly eyes. It makes it a little bit more fun, but also I don't want it to be too silly. Just a little bit of silly, but not too silly. Kind of like Iron Giant. I love how the Iron Giant has these heavy eyelids. So let's see what he looks like. I remember them being pretty emotive. There's Iron Giant. Pretty great movie. I might have to fire that up again. Looks like he's got eyelids, but they're inside of the outer hull. So he's got the hierarchy. The jaw is the most outside, then there's most of the head, and then there's the Rocketeer style fin, and then the eyelids inside of the outer shell. I want to switch that opposite, so I'm going to have. I need to increase the resolution, ladies and gentlemen. Let's bring. Yeah, let's do that. And then image size. Let's go height. Let's go 4,000. Good time to save it. Balt, Ohio man. Balt, Ohio train man. It's kind of cool. Good time to save. It's always a good time to save. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for checking in. Take care, man. Have a good meeting. 4:26 in the evening. 4:26 in the evening. Coffee today provided by Black Rifle Coffee Company. Just black, still hot. Yeti Canteen thermos, still warm. Made this 2 hours ago. Still hot, in fact. You're like, Tom, what are you going to be up to today? I think I'm going to play some video games later. and then watched more of the Ken Burns documentary, The Civil War. Started watching another thing on Disney Plus, which was Drain the Oceans, talking about Nazi secret projects like battleships that masqueraded as merchant vessels and all these secret torpedo tubes and secret cannon that would bust out. And it messed up an Australian ship, battleship at one point. Both ships ended up sinking, but not after it already did a ton of damage. So, learning about that, learning about the German nuclear program and how some Allied saboteurs stopped the transportation of heavy water, some kind of essential material for the development of a nuclear power plant. Red's kind of, is red too scary? I mean, it's, when you think about red eyes, I think about HAL 9000 from 2001, Space Odyssey. So it's sentient, but also kind of dangerous. The red eye is kind of dangerous. Probably should make those orange, because Baltimore loves orange. Like that, maybe. That's fun. It's like a white strap, maybe. Cream color. So the strap should probably be around this boss. I feel like. What kind of nose should this guy have? What do you think? I feel like it's just a 3PO kind of nose, like a C3PO type thing. Could be a headlight. Yeah, this choo-choo on the right, does that have a nose? I think the headlights are kind of the eyes, and the nose could just be like this ring thing. Let's give him a number 9. Robot number 9. Thinking about soul coughing. They had a song, something about head number 9. Oh, Yellow number 5. That's the song. Yellow 5. Bust to Beelzebub. This song is crazy. Soul coughing, so weird. Soul coughing. Bust to Beelzebub. Lady friend I dated back in college was all about the soul coughing. Drew says, nice work as always. I was in the marching band in high school and played in a Christmas quartet at the museum. Very cool, Drew. Drew's a good man. Thank you, Drew. Dude, Soul Coughing just said, get on to the bus that's going to stop you mate going rub-a-dub. That's one of the lyrics. Get onto the bus that's going to take you back to Beelzebub. It's a weird song. I like it, though. I don't know exactly where the sun is. I'm imagining our light source is, like, right above, kind of shooting down. something like that. And this guy's got smoke coming out of his head. There's a little purple in there. Who doesn't like a little purple? Purple's fun. Anytime you can use purple instead of black, it's probably a good idea. So if you go a little cooler on your shadows, go a little warmer on your highlights. So if it's just white, why not throw a little, throw a little orange in there, throw a little creamsicle, orange marmalade. Warm it up just a little bit. Boom! Yeah, it's getting fun up in here. Going with kind of a Ravens color scheme here. Gotta say, Baltimore's been through a lot, and they deserve a new hero that everyone can get around. And I think it'll be Baltimore, Ohio, Railroad Man. Okay, I'm realizing I'm not talking as much because I'm listening to music. Bum bum ba da ba da bum bum. Gotta make bigger decisions. Okay, what do we have? We have the wheels have a red interior on them. And there is a counterweight opposite where the piston rod inserts. Something like that. Boiler. Maybe like the red, maybe like the baff. I'm thinking of like an accordion baffle program thing. That also looks like muscle tissue a little bit. The muscle tissue is disturbing, but the idea of some accordion. Actually, probably should go this other way, huh? Like back and forth, maybe. Let's try that. Bellows. There's there's bellows that people push like this to the blacksmiths. Up and down, maybe. Yeah, maybe that's what's going on. Yeah, that feels interesting. Maybe a little bit. Sideways. It's pretty cool. Does he have ears? Probably has ears. I don't know what those would be. Probably another. In World War I, they had these big listening devices. So maybe he's got like a big horn, like a listening horn. Listening amplification. It's a grind, it's a grind, it's a grind, it's a grind. I'm learning you gotta show your work. Remember that in high school? Show your work. What's the answer to the question? Show your work. And everyone's like, man, I don't want to show my work. I just want to answer the question. 2 + 2 is 5. I don't need to show my work. I'm like, man, you need to show your work. You need to show your work. And the reason you got to show your work is because no one in this world takes you for your word. Like, you have to earn that respect. If someone is going to listen and believe you just because you said something, they have to trust you because of probably other stuff you did. Probably because you did the work somewhere else. You've established yourself. You got a degree. You got a job. You got a high-paying, whatever it is. Unfortunately, like, money associates with virtue because money is the currency we use to prove how effective you are in business. So unfortunately, sometimes you get someone who's rich who gets listened to because everyone else assumes the reason they're rich is because they're good and virtuous. Yeah, that's not always true. And it used to be the same place like back in the day, like Romeo and Juliet times, Renaissance, whatever. You were beautiful, you were virtuous. Well, if you were beautiful, you were probably rich. You're probably well taken care of. You're probably well fed. So you looked good. You weren't just like covered in street mud with bad skin. Who knows? So it used to be like a symbol of wealth and therefore of intelligence, because the smart people could afford school and they were business makers, so they probably, you know, hired people, fired people, brought wealth to other people, built up loyalties, all that kind of stuff, all that kind of good stuff. But showing the work, if you show the work, people come along with you. You have to show the work for someone to believe you. So just do the work. So if you can't prove the point you want to make, I don't know. Maybe this is some guerrilla warfare tactics. Maybe I'm giving away the whole game here. But you have to show that you're working. Because everyone respects work. And if you do work, everyone else can say, oh, that person does work. That person's a good worker. And they've thought about things. And they've done a couple things so that their argument is probably valid. They put the work in, as it were. That's why the portfolio is so important for the artist. You have to show that you put the work in. You can't just say, I'm going to draw you a beautiful picture. You should pay me $20,000 for this beautiful painting. You have to show that you've done paintings for people to believe you. Put the work in. So when you're in art school, for my students out there, that's why the portfolio is so important, because your future employers weren't there at art school with you to watch you go through art school and do all that homework. You have to be able to demonstrate that you've done the work. It's a grind, it's a grind, it's a grind. So this is a bit of a hybrid process where I'm doing painting and drawing kind of over and back and forth with itself. In general, it's better to line draw out and plan your whole drawing and then color it 9 times out of 10. But I find this process is fun and rewarding and gets the point across quickly. But it's crude. It takes much longer to refine this because you're making a mess and cleaning it up. Like, why do you have to make a mess in the first place? Well, the mess is the creativity. The mess is the primordial soup that brilliance will come out of. I'm not saying this is brilliant, I'm just giving you an example. Maybe this epaulette, this like shoulder decoration has a bit of a bird-like kind of raven wing in flight type character to it. It'd be fun. Look at this guy. Busting out. Got the high step. He's leading the march. I like the Music Man musical. It's about a con artist. I never liked that a con artist was getting away with being a con artist, but I think it's like just because someone was intending to do something bad, if it leads to something good, you can still have a good thing. Like, people had confidence. They were thrilled just to have a band. They were just so happy to have a band. But like that band was magically good at the end when they had no business being good at all. You know, this dude was just trying to con out the town, and he gets away with it, which is kind of bullshit fantasy. But it's still fun to have a marching band that everyone gets to play instruments. It's a grind, grind, it's a grind, it's a grind, grind. I'm learning from this series that most people's Facebook tolerance is about 30 minutes for live stuff, which is cool. Which is cool. So you have smaller, kind of tight circles in the beginning, and much bigger, kind of dimmer, like fadier. So all that density is really strong and really compact at the beginning, and then as it grows and fades, it's going to be thinner and less dense. If you watch the rockets take off, it's the same thing. Voulez-vous the bus? Okay, let me add a little extra room. On this side, it's pretty cool. Let's just merge it all. I think I want to have some trees down here too, just to give it some more scale. Probably should look at the B&O Train Museum at this point. B&O Railroad Museum. There it is. There's the choo-choo. Choo-choo. It's a cool place. It's one of the little hidden gems of Baltimore. The Roundhouse. Okay, so it's brick and then a wheel of like glass and then another wheel of glass. It's a beautiful room. Absolutely. Look how beautiful it is. Voulez-vous the bus? It's gonna take you back to Beelzebub. I know I'm even losing patience for this because I'm checking my Facebook again. Ladies and gentlemen, Facebook addiction is real. Reach out if you need help. Seek help, please. Take care of yourself. Don't get bogged down in that social media. Got me in trouble over last weekend. Got a little trouble. So usually the train museum has an American flag at the top, but since it's being smashed for good reason, I would say this is being smashed for good reason because it's been housing. It's like the tent over the monster, Frankenstein's monster, that is being unleashed upon the injustices. It's a grind, it's a grind, it's a grind. This is a good kind of grind. Painting is a good kind of grind. It's work. When I was doing my series of drawings of rifles, people's weapons, I was making my arm pretty sore from painting. And I've heard many stories from concept artists that I know who like tear tendons and ligaments and stuff from like really getting in there and pressing really hard and stuff. I think it's important to adjust your sensitivity on your tablet. All right. So what did we cover today? We covered the truth will come out. The Weinstein brothers show that it is important to have the hard conversations, fight for the truth. It's difficult, but it's only through talking that you get to the bottom of it. And language is tricky, man. You gotta risk losing friends to get to the truth. And that's what we've been seeing. We've been seeing with the marches. People are fed up and they're willing to risk their personal safety. Everyone's been cooped up 16 weeks. They just want to get out. They just want to do some fun things. I don't think human beings have evolved to be at-home creatures, man. You look at solitary confinement in prisoners and you see how psychologically damaging it is. Then you come out to what we've been up to, and everyone's been kind of pinned at home. People like myself have been mostly alone this entire time. I get out about once a week or twice a week to see some friends in small gatherings, groups, typically outside. Yeah, people who are stuck with their families, sometimes that's good. But sometimes you can get sick of people. I think in general, I would bet that the majority of families got closer over this. They took for granted these relationships, and now when they needed these relationships, they're available, so they're appreciative. I also know there's been some domestic violence cases going on too. That's never good. So we need more of these bellows. Maybe we'll have a bellow system in the throat. And then we have some kind of collar. Would it be? The bands have these tall collars, and there's some kind of ranking usually. I don't know how robot lips work. They're going to be buried in the trumpet. Something like that. Imagine the sound that trumpet would make, like a Chris Nolan style foghorn, train horn thing. Chris Nolan loves the big horns, man. I bet he has an opinion or two about a marching band. That's what I want next. After Tenet, the next Chris Nolan movie has to be about a marching band that conquers the earth. That's what I want. These bolts probably have a hexagonal pattern to them. So give them some edge. Get onto the bus. It's going to take you back to Beelzebub. Keep working on that. Is the torso long enough? I think the legs might need to come down a little bit. So I'm going to select all of this and copy paste. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And we're going to go with like a Civil War style uniform that has the high belt line, like the Marine Corps uniform, and then it's like the belt's up kind of at the waist. Belt's a little high, but I'm gonna have to work with this in a bit. And then the pants can be down here like this, maybe. We can get into the clockwork specifics later. I kind of feel like my idea for this takes some inspiration from Sean Andrew Murray. I love his work, and I would love to get as detailed into something like this as Sean does. Sean goes nutty with the detail. It's very cool. Very cool to see. So what is the clockwork going to be of this shape? That is his jacket. That is to be determined. Do more of those baffle type things, but I kind of just want buttons. Brass buttons. Those funky buttons. Who's having a grand old time? Busting out. Got big chunks of this roof, and it's got these triangular kind of shapes. I'm just going flying everywhere. There's some trees down here, more green, something like that. So that's to be detailed later. And then, oh, it's a brick. The reason it's red down here is because it's a brick building underneath. So we'll go red and then some archways, and that will indicate for us for later that we're going to paint this in with a brick kind of theme. Archway and then some windows. Something like that. And some red, maybe some big red doors. And have some like beams. What's the inside of this look like? So it's painted red with wood supports. Painted red. It's not circles, it's angles like this. Okay. Well, y'all, I hope you had fun checking this out today. Maybe I'll revisit this later on in the week. I like a lot of the ideas and brainstorming that happened here. The idea that maybe he was chained down and he's busting through those chains, and there's going to be all these little bits of chains kind of coming out. I wanted to have more like locomotive parts. I might integrate some wheels. Maybe he's got some more wheels here. Maybe his foot's another train. Maybe he's got roller skates. And that could be fun. That'd be cool. Train man, Baltimore hero, the hero we need in the Mid-Atlantic. Right? Something like that. Still got to do the flip test on this guy and a whole lot of other stuff. I hope you all have a great day and a great week. And guess what? Next weekend's July 4th, 4th of July, Independence Weekend. Be safe with your fireworks and your grills and your hot dogs and cheeseburgers and vegan burgers and anything but beef burgers and the impossible meat burgers and crab burgers if you have crab burgers. Take care, y'all.